And all that into focus as we, attack the season.
Welcome to the Publix Tailgate Show. JP Shadrick, Mike Dempsey, and Brian Sexton have all the news and information to get you ready for today's game. The Publix Tailgate Show is brought to you by Baptist Health, Farah and Farah, and by TIAA Bank. The Publix Tailgate Show starts right now.
Good morning. They're back at it after a Week 11 bye for the Jaguars, and for Doug Peterson's team, it's out of the frying pan and into the fire. Patrick Mahomes was the quarterback the last time the Jaguars were on the field. Today, it's Lamar Jackson, and the Jaguars are determined to show they're on their way to becoming a good team. But the only way you do that in this league is by beating a good team. Talk is cheap. You can talk about it all you want. Today, they'll have to show us they're ready for a late-season run to relevance, whatever that means to you, but to be relevant in the conversation in the month of November and into December. They've got to have their best game of the season today. Good morning, and welcome to the Publix Tailgate Show. Brian Sexton, you all know Mike Dempsey, and our game today is brought to you by Publix, where shopping, of course, is an extreme pleasure. It was for me over the Thanksgiving holiday. How was your Thanksgiving? Yeah, well, it was, I love Publix.
You love a crowded grocery store.
I do love a crowded grocery store where everybody's together. No, I like it.
It was good.
I like the feeling of the holidays.
Bye week rolling right into Thanksgiving week was nice. A little bit of downtime. So
kind of strange to be sitting here at Thanksgiving with 7 games to play. I mean, when you and I first got started in this a long time ago, the season started earlier. It was compressed, right? It was 16 games, not 17 over 18 weeks. And you'd get here now, and you're talking about 3-4 games till Christmas and the playoffs starting. You still have 7 games to play. That's a lot of football.
Yeah, just a different landscape, and I think everyone's adjusts to it. It is what it is. What are you going to do about it? For the Jags, hopefully, Brian, some of that self-scouting that we hear so much about during bye weeks, hopefully they're able to make a few adjustments coming out of the bye, maybe catch the Ravens by surprise a little bit today. But they look, there's no more waiting around. You don't win today, and even the Jaguars' talk of making a run to the postseason is going to diminish.
Well, and I've said this since they hired Doug Peterson. What I really would like to see this year is to be in the conversation after Thanksgiving. In other words, if the Jaguars win today and say the Colts beat the Chiefs or the Titans lose to the Texans and whatever, you choose your scenario, that the Jaguars are, the 9th spot and could still be involved. As opposed to the past where we'd be here, it's like, okay, how many games are left, right?
Sure.
Be relevant to the conversation. We'll find out if they can get that done today. The head coach, of course, has been around this league since the early 1990s, and he understands, strange as it might seem, almost half of the schedule remains to be played.
In front of us, our goals are still obtainable. We've got to, yes, we've put ourselves in a hole a little bit, and we're climbing out of that hole, but we've just got we've got a 7-game schedule, and 7 games. It's a new season for us, and it's an opportunistic year, and having 7 games left, and two with a young football team, it's still we've got to keep pushing, right? We got to keep the guys and sort of the hammer down to let these young guys know that most colleges are wrapping up this coming weekend, and then bowl season, right? But we still have a month and a half of football.
Well, look, he's right about that, Brian, but I don't even think you can look at it like a 7-game season. You go look at this as a 1-game today, do-or-die kind of situation. And this is a beatable Ravens team. As good as they are, the fact that they've had a double-digit lead in every game this year, the record is good. They've let a few get away. But, they were 3-3 versus the lowly Panthers last week in the fourth quarter. So this is a team that's gettable. The question is, do the Jags have the firepower to get them?
Well, and they've moved the ball, Mike, up and down the field all season long. They're top 10 in terms of yards, but they haven't been able to convert those yards to points, despite the fact that they've had late-game rallies with the quarterback putting them, for instance, if you recall the game in Indianapolis with the 18-play drive, giving them the lead. He's done that. They've proven that the offense can move the ball, but they've got to get better, and the quarterback knows it.
I like where we're at as an offense. Really, obviously, we didn't get it done last week, but as far as the steps that we took, when you really look at the details and some of the stuff we're doing, I think we're making a lot of steps. So just trying to continue that improvement and keep that confidence for myself and just for all of us. And I think, obviously it's a huge part of the game is playing with that confidence and trust in each other.
Well, let's hope so. I mean, look, Trevor Lawrence has had a couple of hot streaks this year, and he's currently on one, right, I would say. And we'll see if the bye week slows that momentum at all. But maybe it lets him settle in and see what he did successfully and try to maintain that, because we've had those peaks and valleys here. You know, the offense has moved the ball pretty consistently all year. It's been red zone struggles that have bogged them down, and it has been inconsistency from the quarterback at times. If Trevor Lawrence can string together another couple of games like he had heading into the bye, Brian, then I think we can start talking about him turning the corner here in his second year.
He's completed 76% of his passes the last 2 weeks, but there were moments early in the game last week where he was a bit shaky. He's got to be able to settle in early and take advantage of every throw. When he does, it opens everything up. And offensive coordinator Press Taylor is fully aware of what's possible for everyone when this kid is playing well.
Well, he's kind of just taking what the defense gives him. And that's really the biggest thing over and over. Understand the plan really well, understand the situation, putting the ball in play, giving our guys opportunities. That gives our guys the opportunity to get the ball in space and create afterwards. That gives the line the trust that, all right, they call pass, the ball's going to get out of his hand, he's going to take the completion. And that just overall, that kind of builds up that trust, that chemistry as a unit when they can be confident the ball's coming out, it's going to the right spot at the right time, and we're spreading the ball around, and we're being able to just play and dictate the terms.
Look, we want it all instantly, right? It does take a while to develop that kind of timing and chemistry with these guys, but hopefully the way they left things off with Christian Kirk is a sign that he is going to continue to finish strong in the second season. It's just that, Brian, they don't have anybody else that really stands above the crowd, right?
But there are two guys that have the ability, and they've shown it at times this year, to take their game up a notch, and that's Zay Jones, who seems to be open a lot, and the other is the tight end, Evan Ingram. If those two guys can contribute meaningfully, right? Combined, they have, I think, 78 receptions, just about 90 yards more than Christian Kirk does, but only 2 touchdowns, right? If they can become more of a factor, if at the end of the season they each have 4 touchdowns, we're not talking about preposterous numbers.
Right.
4 touchdowns.
3 each in the last 7 games.
Then you've got something there.
Well, look, a couple of things are curious. Why Zay Jones hasn't been targeted more, just taking a shot down the field, right? I mean, you look at the 40 time. The guy is fast, and that's what he was hyped as coming in addition to he rarely drops a pass. And Evan Ingram in the red zone. Where has it been? They've got to scheme plays for Evan Ingram, I feel, because they don't have that big-bodied 6'4" wide receiver. It should be one of your primary red zone targets. I think he's been underutilized.
Well, at Arrowhead Stadium, he would have had a second touchdown of the year if not for the penalty, but they've got to do more of that. If those two guys can get involved, then Christian Kirk will have more opportunities himself, and we'll see if the Jaguars' offense can take a step up. All right, let's talk a little bit about what we all know to be true, and that is Lamar Jackson is one of the biggest challenges that any defense in this league can face, and Mike Caldwell understands it as well.
That's the thing. He's a quarterback that does have a skill set that typical quarterbacks don't have, and it's tough because you have to have enough guys on the field that can catch him, and the guys on the field that are bigger than him have to be able to understand how to keep him in the pocket and not let him get out there. So it's a challenge. You face it, but we'll have a plan on how we want to rush him, how we want to try to contain him, and go do it.
Look, 3rd and medium, 3rd and long, that's where Lamar Jackson absolutely can kill you. He hasn't had a great year. He had a great start to the season, and part of it is because he's had a lot of injuries in his pass-catching core, including his tight end, Mark Ingram, who's fine now, but a lot of guys in and out of that lineup. Brian, there's been some inconsistency, but how many times in the last 4 or 5 years have we seen the Jags in position to win a game, needing to close out another team, and a mobile quarterback kills them on 3rd down? I mean, Lamar Jackson is at the top of the list of the guys that you need to worry about in that situation in the league.
Leading passer, obviously, for them, but also their leading rusher, which
no doubt
gives you an immense challenge today because you can hold him and hold him and hold him, and then all of a sudden, in 1 second, he's 80 yards down the field for a touchdown.
Right, and he legit can go 8. He can run with any of your defensive backs. He can, but at the same time, 3 points heading into the 4th quarter against Carolina, that you got to have players around you to help you make plays.
And he's been sacked this year 23 times, which is 8 more than the quarterback in Jacksonville.
And his left tackle's not playing today.
All right, we'll see what they can do. One guy and one story this week who will be tasked with that is Chad Muma, the rookie linebacker, who is going to see a lot more time now because of the struggles of Devin Lloyd. It's been a big story all week long. He knows what he's facing, and he's seen a lot of Lamar Jackson.
I'm ready. Yeah, I'm excited. You know, it's one of those things when you're previously in college, you're looking up to all these guys, these tremendous quarterbacks that are able to do it with their feet and their arms, and Lamar's one of those guys. And so it's just one of those things I'm looking forward to towards the challenge, just that opportunity like I was talking about before.
We all want him to succeed, right? And it's great. I'm excited for Chad Muma, but still, you look and you go, man, here we are, a little past halfway in the season, and we're basically benching our first-round linebacker to some degree.
To some degree. He's going to play.
60-40 split in favor of Devin Lloyd last time out.
Right.
But you're expecting, when you trade 3 picks to move up into the first round to take that guy, you're thinking he's never coming off the field. And the way he started the season, you thought, we never want him to come off the field.
Right.
So hopefully for Devin Lloyd, the break, able to let him get a little bit more comfortable, get his head around some things, and come out playing better football.
I talked to Kyle Whittingham on draft night about him, and the word was that the thing that he does best is prepare. On Tuesday, he gets ready to coach on the field on Wednesday in college football. So at some point, and I know talking to people in the building this week, they haven't lost confidence in him. They just need things to slow down a little bit more. We'll find out if that gets done. Hey, we've got a lot more sound coming up for you here on the Publix Tailgate Show in hour number 2. But first, time for a segment I missed dramatic. In fact, I wanted ET to do Come On Somebody. I wanted to Come On Sexton for me last week on the bye week.
Should have called him.
Yeah, I should have, and he probably would have done it for me. But instead, I waited a week so that he could do this, the magic of Come On Somebody for all of us.
Man, it's been about 2 weeks. Let's see if I still got it. Come on, somebody! Yep, still got it. After that 2-week little break, that chest brain, still functional and fully operational. And that mental, it's ready for some new headaches. Not that I'm expecting the professional football team that I love with my heart and soul to give me any, but just in case, I'm ready. But I've had enough. 7 of them to be exact. And I'm only talking about this year. But that's neither here nor there. Because at the end of the day, I'm still thankful. Thankful that I can even talk about these type of headaches. Because this Sunday, we got a potential headache for sure. And their quarterback, he is certified migraine. But I done too much talking. Y'all know how the game go. Come on, somebody.
Let's go! Devin Lloyd's about to shut down Lamar in the run.
Oh, word? Devin Lloyd pulling up on us like that? What else you got?
As long as our kicker can stay good, Trevor's about to take off.
So what I'm getting is our success is dependent on Devin Lloyd and our kicker. Bruh.
Duval.
Jags 35.
Which would be the second most that we have scored all season.
Ravens 27.
Now for the Come On Somebody useless stat of the day. When your Jacksonville Jaguars holds a team to 27 points or less, we're 4-4. Oh, don't mind me. I'm just almanacking you. Do with that information as you please.
Let's go, Jag.
Come on, somebody.
E.T. Who's baby here?
Who's baby? How was your Thanksgiving? Oh.
The Jaguars are going to make the Ravens raving mad when the Jags win this week. Come on, somebody.
Come on, somebody. Now that has to be some type of record or something.
Hey, E.T., you already know what it is. Your boy Rudy, man.
Rudy, it's been a minute, man. Hope all is well, brethren.
And one, I just want to say, man, I'm so grateful to even have an NFL team.
It's a privilege for real, for real.
I think the biggest thing for us this week, we got to stop Lamar Jackson.
You know what? You might be on to something, fam. Who would have thought that? Stop Lamar Jackson.
We got to stop him from making plays that he don't need to make.
Boy, Rudy on fire with these outstanding observations.
I got trust in our boys, and we going to win 24-10.
And now time for another Come On Somebody useless stat of the day. The Baltimore Ravens have been held to 10 points no times this year. I'm just almanacking you.
Duval.
Come on, somebody.
Having grown up here and knowing what this town was like in the 60s and 70s, I'm super grateful for the change in culture that the Jaguars brought here with outside money and outside influence. What a blessing that is. What a joy it's been, even through the bad times.
I don't know what this town was like in the 60s and 70s, but I do know what this town is like now. I also know what this town will be like when this team starts consistently winning. I'm talking party like a rock star. You hear me? So I end it with this. I'm thankful for the Jags. I'm thankful for this platform. I'm thankful for my job at 1010. But most importantly, I'm thankful for y'all. P.S. I'm also thankful for this Bud Zone, where I'm going to hold it down at. Come on, somebody.
He just gets better every week.
The Bud Zone. Look, I think it is a good reminder. That last caller, in all honesty, right? Because usually we do these on Thursday and Friday, and we're out this week, so we're doing them very early in the week, and we're asking people, what are you thankful for? You want to talk about the Jags experience? Easy to forget, through all the losing, and I get it.
Yeah.
It's tough. You're a fan of a football team. You're tired of seeing it be this way year after year after year. The alternative to me, Brian, is no comparison.
No.
I am so thankful for this organization, and I get frustrated with them too. We all do.
Right here.
Right. So, but, they've enriched my life so much I can't even begin to count.
On any given Sunday, there are only 16 cities in this great country that get to host one of these games.
Maybe
That's
not
it.
even that many,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
at a max.
Yeah. So enjoy it, and I think the good times are coming. Maybe we'll find a glimpse of that today. E.T., we are thankful, as always, for you being part of our number one of the Publix Tailgate Show. Much more ahead, including...
Just one of those electric quarterbacks, one of those guys that can make some heroic plays from on his feet and sometimes just make some exciting plays.
That's the first overall pick, Trayvon Walker, who I caught up with in the locker room. He's this week's Baptist Health Player Interview. Plus, CBS Sports senior writer Pete Prisco. The Ravens and Jaguars are less than 3 hours away, and you are part of the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
You're beyond busy. Between work and the kids, the dogs and the cat, let us help. With Publix Delivery powered by Instacart, you'll get the items you need from the store you know. Just shop online, select the time you'd like your order delivered, and grocery shopping is done, giving you more time to take care of everything else.
Publix Delivery, powered by Instacart. Visit Publix.com/delivery to shop now. That's Publix.com/delivery. Item prices vary from in-store prices. Service fees may apply. Available in select zip codes. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
You say there's nothing quite like the feel of the open road when you ride a motorcycle. You know it takes concentration, knowledge, and skills beyond those required to drive a car. Ride Smart Florida would like to take this opportunity to remind you to enjoy the road, but to always ride smart. S-M-A-R-T. Say no to drinking and riding. Make yourself more visible to motorists. Always wear your helmet. Ride in control. Train regularly and get endorsed. Visit RideSmartFlorida.com for more details. Do you ride smart? This message is provided by the Florida Department of Transportation.
We've spent a lot of time in our homes.
I'm on a Zoom call.
Dinner's ready.
But we've learned that when we love our home, it loves us right back. Now you can keep that love going when you install energy-efficient natural gas appliances and earn up to $1,925 in cash rebates. You'll love endless hot water, faster drying and cooking times, and ongoing savings and comfort. To learn more and how to qualify, visit peoplesgas.com/rebates.
Since 1916, Duval Motor Company is here to keep you and your vehicle off the sidelines. Their all-star lineup of dealerships provides superior sales, maintenance, and repairs for every make and model with Ford, Honda, Acura, Subaru, Chevrolet, and everything in between. At every Duval location across North Florida, Duval Motor Company always puts service first. In-store, online, or at your front door. Get service first with DuvalMotorCompany.com.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over.
Paid for by FDOT.
At most sandwich places, asking for more of something is just part of the drill. But what if you never had to ask for more? What if more was just a given? At Daly's, more is what our sandwiches are built on. More meat, more cheese, more veggies, more quality, more taste. All for a price that's anything but more. Sandwiches from Dash, made fresh. Daly's.
The Publix Tailgate Show continues right now.
Welcome back to the Publix Tailgate Show. Brian Sexton, Mike Dempsey, Jaguars-Ravens coming up at 1 o'clock. We always start this second segment of the show with CBS Sports senior writer Pete Prisco, a longtime observer of the Jaguars and a guy with his finger on the pulse of things around the National Football League. Mike, and you caught up with him around Thanksgiving.
I did, Brian. And, coming out of the bye week, obviously it's time to reflect on what happened in the first half of the season, but really now time to look forward, these final 7 games and the development of your quarterback. Nothing more important than that for this franchise. So we started off with Pete, just asking him about what he'd like to see from Trevor specifically over these last 2 months.
Well, I think one of the things I'd like to see is more of his big shots down the field. I think he's made progress in a lot of areas. I think the last 2 games he's been really good, but I want to see the numbers go up a little bit. He was very efficient against Kansas City, but I want to see more shots down the field, and I think he'll start to take them as he gets more comfortable in the offense, as he gets more comfortable with his guys around him. And I think now is the time, the next 7 weeks, big shots down the field is something I want to see.
We've seen this from Trevor Lawrence before, where he puts together a 2 or 3 game stretch. He did it earlier this season, and then he kind of fell off a little bit. Pete, what gives you hope that we're going to see a more consistent Trevor Lawrence in the second half of the season?
Well, Mike, I think when you look at it, he just seems like he shook off the bad game. And, he had the bad game in Europe and London. I thought he was terrible there, and he responded by having 2 good ones. And I think that's what you got to see from a young quarterback, is how they put that stuff in the rearview mirror. The best thing about him is he's accountable. He's not going to hide from his mistakes. He's not going to hide from the fact that he's one of the guys that's causing the problem. And he fixes them. And I think going forward, I think that's a great mindset to have, and I think that's a great ability for a quarterback to forget about the worst play or the worst game and just move on, because you're all going to have them. You're going to have the bad games, and I think he's mature enough already in his second year to figure that out.
Okay, Pete, the players around Trevor Lawrence, are there any guys that you'd like to see get more opportunities in these last couple of months, the second half, however you want to refer to it? I'm not saying necessarily wholesale lineup changes, but just guys you want to take a longer look at.
Well, one of the things I would look at is if they're going to make Muma, play more, then I think you got to look at Devin Lloyd as an outside rusher a little bit. I'd like to see that. I think that's something that they should do, because I've seen him chase down quarterbacks. He has the speed to do it, and I think he might be a guy that can fit in some form or fashion in that role. Rushing Trayvon Walker from the inside would be something I would look at, because he's not winning on the outside. He's a power player. I think he can move inside and do some good things in there. And the one thing I would do is I'd move Darius Williams back outside the outside corner, and then try and figure out the slot corner, because I think he's a better outside corner than he is as a slot corner. We saw that when he was with the Rams, and I think he would be better suited to be playing on the outside. Those are 3 things I definitely would look at.
Pete, you mentioned Trayvon Walker maybe sliding inside in the interior of that defensive line at times. Just what should fans be looking for out of him? It's tough, because if you're not putting up the sack numbers, it's hard to know exactly how often a young pass rusher is playing well. So what are the indications that fans should look for that tell you that he's on the right path?
Well, start using some moves. I mean, that's the most important thing. He's a big, physically strong player, and he's a good player. He's tough. He holds up at the point of attack. He's good against the run. He doesn't get blown off the ball. But at some point, you have to start winning. And you win with your moves. You win with your hands. You win with your ability to fool the tackle. And he has a tendency to just run right smack dab in the middle of the tackle. You can't overpower tackles in the NFL like that. You have to have a counter move, and I think that's the next step for him. If we start seeing that in the second half of this season, the next 7 games, then I think that's great progress for next year.
All right, Lamar Jackson taking on the Jaguars today, Pete, along with his Ravens teammates. Look, he doesn't have a great set of skill players around him outside of Mark Andrews. Those wide receivers are not near the top of the league, yet they continue to get the job done. Just what kind of a threat does he pose today, and how dangerous is this Ravens team?
Well, they haven't exactly thrown the ball very well this season, which is not a surprise. I mean, they've had a lot of guys in and out of that lineup in the passing game, and particularly outside in the passing game, and Mark Andrews has been out a little bit as well. So I do think when you look at the passing game, it hasn't been consistent, but we said that a lot about the Ravens when Lamar Jackson has been there. They're tough to defend because they have so many different looks and so many different ways to get him on the perimeter and so many different ways to get him outside with the ball in his hands. So you got to be disciplined. You have to have, eye discipline. You can't allow him to fool you and to, rip off a 45-yard run to kind of set the tone of the game. You have to be disciplined in your spots, and that's where it's tough for a young defense. I mean, they're aggressive. They want to be aggressive. They want to run to the football, but you have to be disciplined against Lamar Jackson.
All right, Pete, finally, do you see the Jags getting a win coming out of the bye?
I don't think they'll win the game, but I think like most of their games, they're going to be in it. And this is a team that's trending in the right direction for next year. And, come out of this, 7-game stretch, win 3 or 4 of these games. I think they'd feel really good about themselves. I don't think they win this one, but I think they hang around.
I think at this point you win 4 out of your last 7.
Yeah.
The team, fan base, everybody would feel good. You'd have momentum, and I don't know how much that carries over into the offseason, but at least there'd be a feeling of we're heading in the right direction around this team, this fan base.
And, Mike, if you're going to do that, the quarterback has to play well, and that's really the important story of this whole season, about this quarterback developing. That's why Doug Peterson is here. That's why he built the brain trust around him to get this quarterback to be able to take that next step. You win 4 of the last 7. I'm assuming he does.
Well, I am too, but you're going to need more than just that, obviously.
100%.
Right?
If he doesn't play well.
One of those guys, no, if Trevor doesn't play well, you're not going to have much chance to win any of these games. But even if he does, Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen in particular, I think, need to step up their games. Beginning today with Ronnie Stanley out, we've got to see at least – I know it's tough to get a hold of Lamar Jackson, but we've got to see at least pressure in there, even if it's to contain him in the pocket. Just can't have him back there surveying the field.
It's not public, and you don't hear it in the building. But if I'm Mike Caldwell, the defensive coordinator here, I'm feeling some heat that both Trayvon Walker and Devin Lloyd haven't grown, over the course of the last 6 weeks. I personally, if I'm Mike, I want to make sure those two guys have big final 7 weeks.
Well, particularly because Mike Caldwell is a linebackers coach by
100%.
trade, and those are his
100%.
guys, right?
100%.
So.
I know he feels it because he's a professional. I caught up with Trayvon Walker, of all people, this week in the locker room to ask him about the final 7 weeks and how the bye week went for him.
The bye week was definitely good. It was time for me to reflect over the things that we've done the whole season, myself personally, and get my mind off ball a little bit.
The coaches have been talking about how you young guys are just coming to what would be the end of the college season. You still have 7 games left to play. That seems like an eternity, huh?
No, it doesn't seem too bad. Like this year, I can't say the bye week actually fell on a pretty good week because the finish off, like you said, we only have 7 more games. So I just look at it like 3 more games, and then we have those last 4. So break it down into basically like a quarter of the season left.
So how much do you feel like a professional now, 10 games in? Do you feel like the rookie stuff is gone and now you kind of get it, or is it still something new every week?
It's always things to learn from, but obviously I feel like I'm adjusting to it being a pro athlete, like as time goes on. But like I said, it's still a lot that I still have to go through and things that I have to figure out on my own. But I do feel as if I'm becoming more of a professional.
Because you are seeing something different this week in Lamar Jackson, aren't you? What did the tape say to you?
Lamar, he's just one of those electric quarterbacks, one of those guys that can make some heroic plays from on his feet, and sometimes, just make some exciting plays. And he's a great player, and we're willing to accept the challenge.
It's one of those things that you can't say, well, you just try to keep him in the pocket. I mean, he slides by. Have you ever played in the SEC? Did you ever see an athlete that did that kind of stuff to you?
I'm pretty sure, and it's SEC that's best conference in all of football, so I can't say I probably more than likely I have one against somebody of his caliber. But like I said, until I get on the field with him, I won't be able to get that feeling of how he actually plays until I'm actually out there.
I'm sure you haven't turned on the radio or read the newspapers, and you just pretty much focus on football. But the word has been the pass rush has to get home. How do you do that? And the coach talked about simplifying things over the bye week. How are you guys working to get home in the next couple of weeks?
Like I say, just keep everything simple. Make 100% of the plays that you're supposed to make within however your tackle is setting you or whatever. Just take advantage of what the offensive lineman is giving you and be able to capitalize on those sacks and finish on the quarterback in time enough.
It's Thanksgiving. It's about family and it's about football. You have any particular memory of football and Thanksgiving you'd like to share with us?
I mean, on Thanksgiving, my family, we always get together. And obviously, it's always Thursday night football on. That's a very exciting moment just to be able to sit down with my family, rejoice, break bread with each other, and watch some football.
Have a great Thanksgiving.
Yes, sir. You do the same.
I know folks are disappointed that the numbers aren't better, that he's not, consistently piling up sacks yet. When you're first overall pick, the expectations are always that the numbers are going to be impressive. But if you watch the tape, if you watch him closely, you see him impacting the game. He's close to getting to the quarterback, but he's all over the place making tackles. And I haven't seen a team in the last 5 weeks that hasn't sent 2 people looking for him, whether it's a back or a tight end along with the tackle, because they understand his physical capabilities.
See, which then is the shame that Josh Allen's not taking advantage of that, because it's supposed to be Allen drawing those double teams, that extra help, those chips that opens things up for Trayvon Walker. Instead, he's been the more active one of late. Like you said, teams are recognizing that even if he's not getting there, he's more disruptive. I still think he needs to be more disruptive than he's been.
Agreed.
But I think Josh Allen is the one who really needs a bigger step forward here in these final 7 games.
There was a play 2 games ago where he made a tackle 35 yards down the field from the backside. So he's got the physical capabilities to do it. Mike Caldwell and his defensive staff have to unlock those over the final 7 weeks for this defense to take a big step forward. And this franchise needs the defense to take a big step forward. We've got more to come here. Hour number 1 of the Publix Tailgate Show rolls along after our Baptist Health player interview with Trayvon Walker. Next, we feature...
I like where both safeties are at. They're versatile players. You feel good with them covering in the box, doing whatever we ask them to do.
That is Cody Grimm, the safeties coach, with a conversation about his guys. The Jaguars and Ravens are coming up at 1 o'clock in Week 12. This is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
You're beyond busy. Between work and the kids, the dogs and the cat, let us help. With Publix Delivery powered by Instacart, you'll get the items you need from the store you know. Just shop online, select the time you'd like your order delivered, and grocery shopping is done, giving you more time to take care of everything else.
Publix Delivery, powered by Instacart. Visit Publix.com/delivery to shop now. That's Publix.com/delivery. Item prices vary from in-store prices. Service fees may apply. Available in select zip codes. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
The Land Rover Defender story began with the simple thought of creating an exceptionally capable off-road vehicle, becoming the go-anywhere, do-anything all-terrain machine. Today, there's a new Land Rover Defender, the toughest and most advanced Land Rover vehicle ever. From the beginning, Land Rover knew the new Defender was capable of great things. Motor Trend's 2021 SUV of the Year is just the latest example. Test drive the new Land Rover Defender today at Land Rover Jacksonville on Atlantic Boulevard, or go to LandRoverJacksonville.com. Land Rover, above and beyond.
The creamiest, dreamiest soft ice cream you get from Mr. Softy. For a refreshing delight supreme, look for Mr. Softy. The milkshakes and the sundaes and the cones are such a treat. Look out for the ice cream stand, enjoy it from your seat. The creamiest, dreamiest soft ice cream you get from Mr. Softy. For a refreshing delight supreme, look for Mr. Softy. S-O-F-T-E-E, Mr. Softy.
Storm season is here, and JEA is doing everything possible to prepare. We've invested millions in hardening our electric, water, and sewer systems to make them more resistant to extreme weather. By updating your contact information and signing up for alerts, you'll also be better prepared if a storm hits. And in the event we need to restore your power, we can keep you up to date on our efforts and get you back to normal sooner. Update your contact info today at JEA.com. JEA, building a more prepared community.
The original pizza logs are a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars and available at the stadium on game day. You'll find those delicious gourmet pizza egg rolls at concession stands, clubs, and suites. For all their products, be sure to check out pizzalogs.com and have them delivered right to your home. That's pizzalogs.com.
Put down the burger, put down the dog. Pick up the original pizza log. There's only one. The original pizza log. Yeah.
Hi Jags fans, Walker Little here for my friends at Kingfish Pest Control. Playing offensive line in the NFL, I must block and protect on every down. When it comes to keeping my home pest-free, I expect that same level of protection. So I contacted Kingfish after seeing thousands of positive online customer reviews about their service. I can confirm from personal experience, bugs don't stand a chance getting past Kingfish Pest Control. Do what I did. Reach out to Kingfish Pest Control to protect your home, a proud partner of your Jacksonville Jaguars.
The Publix Tailgate Show continues right now.
Welcome back. Jaguars Game Day Radio brought to you by VyStar Credit Union. Do good, bank better. Today's game against the Ravens. Starts at 1 o'clock, and we've got pregame coverage all the way up until kickoff. Our game today also brought to you by Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. Time now in hour number 1 of the Publix Tailgate Show for our weekly commentary from Rick Ballou.
Good morning, Duval. The Jaguars are healthy. They're coming off the team's bye, and today, well, it's a good thing. They're going to need it. Here comes the first place from the AFC North, Baltimore Ravens, and it's the first of 4 playoff teams that Jacksonville will face in their final 7 weeks. As a matter of fact, if you look at Tennessee, who they'll play twice, that's actually 5 out of 7. If the season ended today, those clubs on their way to the playoffs. Now, Pro Football Outsiders say that the Jaguars had the 3rd easiest schedule through the first 10 games. That certainly does change here now during their final stretch. Really doesn't matter, though, for the Jags, right? Home, away, day, night. They seem to play 60 minutes of football. It's going to come down to, once again, do the Jags make a play late, or do the Jaguars allow a play late? How do you contain Lamar Jackson? The bad hip and all, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. It'll be interesting today to see what Mike Caldwell does as far as Devin Lloyd, Chad Muma, and just the overall defense. How do they try to at least settle down one of the best quarterbacks in the game?
Big story of the day. We'll find out exactly how they do it coming up. Now, forget what you heard from the folks in Kansas City about safety Andre Cisco last week. He did not get a flag for his hit on Juju Smith-Schuster. He's not a dirty player, and he played pretty darn strong the whole day. He's a rising star in the Jaguars secondary, and combined with Rayshon Jenkins, this tandem at safety is playing as well as any tandem has since at least 2017. Cody Grimm coaches them and understands what defensive coordinator Mike Caldwell demands of the position and how to get the best out of his safeties.
Yeah, they're playing hard and they're doing well. Obviously, we can get better at things, but they're getting better each week. I mean, Cisco's learning a lot more about the game. It's good. He basically came in kind of as a rookie this year. He didn't get much action, so he's getting better every week. He's doing a great job, and then Jang plays hard. He plays the right way. He's kind of our Swiss Army knife, does a little bit of everything for us, and kind of our enforcer, so they've been doing well.
Let's talk about Cisco in particular, because I thought his game overall in Kansas City showed just the versatility of him. Ball hawk, step up and play the run. He looks like a guy who's got that special something instinct for the football.
Yeah. I mean, he showed that obviously in college when he got his hand on the ball a lot, and it's been coming out in the NFL recently. He's been doing a good job. He's getting, like I said, better each week, does a good job in the run game. You know, I like where both safeties are at. They're versatile players. You feel good with them covering in the box, doing whatever we ask them to do.
What do you want to see from him over the final 7 weeks of the season to know that he's that solid guy going into year 3?
Yeah, I just want him to keep being a leader out there, really take over the defense. He's done a good job as far as the back end, just communicating, make sure everybody's on the same page. And he's been doing a good job, but we just need to take it to the next level.
Rayshon Jenkins' energy is what stands out to me. He's a guy that brings incredible energy to the game. We didn't see it from him last year, and last year was last year. But has that stood out to you as well?
Oh, yeah, he plays the game the right way. I mean, he doesn't turn down anything out there. He's not afraid to take on anyone, and he does a great job as far as if he sees something once, he kind of gets it. He diagnoses plays quick, and he's been doing great.
I don't want to leave Dewey out. I mean, he came in a couple of real key situations against the Raiders, am I right, and made distinctive plays at the end of the ballgame to help seal it.
Yeah, he's a professional. You love having him come in those type of situations. He's got a lot of playing time under his belt, and he knows how to play.
Do you have long philosophical discussions with him? Because when he stands in front of the media, he likes to talk.
Yeah, he can. We have some good conversations. He's a great guy. We love having him around, and he's good for the room.
From a safety's perspective, what's the challenge this week with Lamar Jackson?
Well, obviously he can run. He can run really well, but then you got to load the box to stop the run. They're a good running team, and then obviously he can be with his arm. He's a really good player, so we're going to have our hands full.
We've seen this defense play at a high level and then fall off a little bit. What do you think this defense in general has to do to play consistent football the final 7 weeks?
We just got to play hard. Play hard at all times, run to the ball, eliminate mistakes, and the big plays kind of have hurt us the past couple weeks. If we can, eliminate the big play, we'll be fine.
People hear the name Grimm, they know who your dad is, the Hall of Famer. You grew up around this league. Does it seem strange to you that we're at Thanksgiving and there are 7 games left? I mean, it used to be you were just wrapping it up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It feels like it's been a long time, but at the same time, you're like, fact it's November, late November, you're like, oh my gosh, it goes by quick. But, I mean, the good thing is we have a good group of guys, good staff, and it's fun. We enjoy it over here, and I enjoy being around the guys, so it makes it enjoyable.
Any Thanksgiving memories from your long tenure in football and around the NFL?
No, usually you're just trying to get someone to cook you a meal.
You got one of those lined up?
Yeah, the wife.
Good. Cody Grimm, the son of Russ Grimm, Hall of Famer. And I'm sure a lot of longtime fans recognize that name. He understands the position. He wants it played a certain way. With that said, we were talking about Andre Sisco and the lack of the flag. The league hit him with that cursory fine, right? That, well, we want to show everyone we're protecting you. That was not a dirty hit, and Andre Sisco was playing good football.
I mean, he is playing good football, Brian, and he was, one of our candidates for player of the game against Kansas City. He started to bring the lumber a little bit. And again, I mean, we were talking about it there while that Cody Grimm interview was running. I hate this fine because it reinforces the perception. Like everyone in Kansas City, and we'd probably do the same thing here, right? Fan base wise, right? They get on social media, dirty team, dirty player, hurt our guy, da-da-da-da. And you're like, are you kidding? If you watch the hit, you should use that as an instructional video of
100%.
What to do when you're in that situation.
He pulled up.
Yeah, right. Hit him with his shoulder. Juju's head goes flying forward because that's physics.
Right.
And it goes right into his helmet. And, I mean, it just, to me, it's ludicrous. And then, of course, for the people that are complaining about it, they say, well, see, he got fined. So, they blew the call, but he got fined. So, obviously, it's a dirty hit. That's the NFL covering themselves in a big way.
That $6,000 fine is just them saying, well, we got to be able to go back at some point in time and prove that we're taking it out. All you need to prove is to show the video and look where his head is.
Yeah.
He hadn't loaded up. Look, when Chuck Cecil was roaming the middle of defenses, Chuck's head would have been down, waiting to just blow up Smith-Schuster. And you can look into the camera and go frame by frame and see his eyes. That's exactly where the league wants the helmet placement. That's exactly how they want the game to be played, by those safeties on receivers. Sisco did it right. And I'm from Kansas City, but the people in Kansas City, you're wrong. You got it wrong.
Beyond that, he's starting to play better, right?
Yes.
Just better football.
Good player.
So he's becoming, at least in that game, he showed you that maybe he can be a little bit of that physical enforcer. We know he's got ball skills. We know he can be that kind of a safety that runs around, gets his hands on the football. Those guys are sometimes seen as finesse players.
Yeah.
He showed you he doesn't have to be a finesse player, and he is starting to get his hands on the football a little bit more. Dropped the pick six a few weeks back, but hopefully more of those opportunities will come.
They were excited about him when they got him on draft day last year in 2021, because had it not been for a knee injury suffered in his last year at Syracuse, he might have gone at the end of the first round. They felt like in the third round they were getting a player and maybe stealing a bit, and he's playing that way right now. It's a good sign for the future of the franchise. All right, much more to come. By the way, PRI Productions is the official event production company of the Jaguars. If you can dream it, they can make it happen. Visit PRIProductions.com. When we return, it's time for First Rounds on Us with Tony Baselli and Jeff Lageman here in the first hour of the Publix Tailgate Show, where shopping is a pleasure.
You're beyond busy. Between work and the kids, the dogs and the cat, let us help. With Publix Delivery powered by Instacart, you'll get the items you need from the store you know. Just shop online, select the time you'd like your order delivered, and grocery shopping is done, giving you more time to take care of everything else.
Publix Delivery, powered by Instacart. Visit Publix.com/delivery to shop now. That's Publix.com/delivery. Item prices vary from in-store prices. Service fees may apply. Available in select zip codes. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Are you suffering from shoulder pain? If you have clicking and popping in the shoulder joint, persistent pain that intensifies with use, an inability to lift your arm over your head, or a tingling, burning sensation in the shoulder, elbow, or wrist, waiting to see a doctor could make your injury worse. Baptist Health and Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute have innovative and effective treatment options available right now to relieve your pain and restore your mobility. Don't wait. Call 904-JOI-2000.
Touchdown at Jaguars away games when you fly nonstop from Jacksonville International Airport. Join the Jaguars in D.C., Los Angeles. Watch them win in Philly, Indy, Detroit, Nashville, New York, and Houston. When you fly nonstop from Jax, on airport parking will punt the stress from your travel itinerary. Garage facilities offer defensive coverage from the weather and are a 50-yard dash from the terminal. Economy parking is just $6 a day. To learn more about nonstop flights and on-airport parking, visit flyjax.com.
Hold on. You want me to tell them about Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea in just 30 seconds? This is impossible. Hey, I'm Billy from Twisted Tea. How can I explain that first sip of cold, smooth, real brewed tea? So good! And the extra kick you get from just the right amount of alcohol? The twist of lemon, Wait, what? We're almost out of time? Oh, shit. Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea. Look for the bright yellow cans wherever you buy beer.
Twisted Tea Brewing Company, Cincinnati, Ohio. Please drink responsibly.
This holiday season, unwrap a brand new Dreamfinders home. You'll enjoy everything that makes the holidays merry and bright with family and friends in an expertly built, energy-efficient Dreamfinders home. What could be better than calling one of St. Johns County's magnificent communities such as Shearwater, Beacon Lake, or Silverleaf home as 2022 comes to a close and an exciting new year begins. Plus, with an interest rate lock special from Dreamfinders Homes, the timing is perfect to be in a gorgeous move-in ready home. Happy holidays to all from Dreamfinders Homes. Visit dreamfindershomes.com.
Frank Frangie here. When you want barbecue in Jacksonville, you want Bono's Pit Barbecue. You can find Bono's locations all around town and on game day at TIAA Bank Field because Bono's is the official barbecue of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Bono's is currently expanding its brand with franchise opportunities throughout the Southeast and beyond. Over 70 years of authentic Southern pit barbecue and owning your own business are a great combo. Go to bonosbarbq.com to learn more or call 904-880-8310 today. And remember, if you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
The Publix Tailgate Show continues right now.
All right, final segment of the first hour of the Publix Tailgate Show. JP Shadrick joins you at the top of the hour. Before then, though, we go to the booth because it's time for First Rounds on Us. Hall of Famer Tony Baselli and Jeff Lageman join us now. And it's time for our UF Health, delivering compassionate care and world-class outcomes. That's our game plan. They sponsor every week our Finding Solutions segment. I mean, you guys know what I'm asking you today is you want a better pass rush. It's been the talk for weeks. You want to see your two first-round picks, both of them linebackers, play well. How do you attack the quarterback that you face today?
Ooh, that's a great question, Brian, but and I don't think it has an easy answer. The one thing you do is you just got to be able to take advantage of the opportunities that you have. So when you have an opportunity at tackling them, you can't miss. And unfortunately, the Jaguars this year have some of the most missed tackles in the National Football League with 65. But you've got to try to eliminate those today against a quarterback that's going to run the RPO, the read option, and then when he drops back to pass, sometimes he's going to go ahead and take off and run there as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important thing is you got to keep him in the pocket. I mean, if you look at teams who have success, they find a way to corral him and force him to try to beat you from the pocket with his arm. Because when he gets outside and extends play, especially in the passing game, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, and last week Carolina did a really good job.
Because they tackled him in space.
Yeah, really good job. They had speed on the field, and that's what you got to do. I think you play with as much speed on the field. You play as much nickel as you can get, and that way you've got faster players on the field. And when he takes off, you have maybe a spy guy that can run him down, and if the spy guy is a defensive back, so be it. I mean, you just got to find a way to get him down because he's fast. I mean, he's really fast.
And elusive.
And then the other thing, too, Brian, that probably doesn't get talked about that much, the offensive line of the Ravens, because most people say, well, the offensive line doesn't matter because he's Lamar Jackson and he's just magical. Well, that's true, but the offensive line with the Ravens, and they're going to be missing Ronnie Stanley today, they're a good offensive line, and they do a good job of protecting him. And that makes it even more difficult to get home.
Guys, obviously the linebackers play a big role in trying to corral Lamar Jackson and this Ravens running game as a whole. And a lot's been made of how much more Chad Muma will be playing here, at least in the next few weeks, it seems like. Do you think this is going to give a spark? Do you think we'll get better play out of Devin Lloyd playing less snaps? And do you think the overall linebacker play is going to get better?
Well, it needs to. And I don't think playing less snaps is going to make Devin Lloyd better. I just think Chad Muma is a better option right now. I think he's better in space. I think he's better in coverage. I think it'll allow everyone else to play faster because you're not going to have pre-snap issues of making sure everyone's lined up correctly. Devin Lloyd struggled after a fast start, a couple good games, but he has really struggled. He has especially struggled in coverage, and I think it's also kind of bled over to the run game where he's been hesitant. He hasn't been fast reacting and has not been a great tackler.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe a different role for Devin Lloyd may help him, which also
Like
in
something
turn
like
would
something
help
like
the
he did
team.
at Utah, maybe.
Yeah, and what we're talking about here, Brian and Mike, is that at Utah he was kind of a blitzer, spinner package pass rusher, which the spinner package, you go all the way back to Lawrence Taylor, and he was that stand-up guy, and he had the 3 down guys, and he would kind of rove around and then blitz. And I think that's what Devin Lloyd did at Utah, and he did pretty well. And the Jaguars right now 30th in the league in sacks per pass attempt, which we know that pass rush has been an issue. So, do you maybe try something with Devin Lloyd with that type of package to spur your pass rush on in today's game? I would like to see it because I think that Devin Lloyd is extremely athletic, and if you put him in that type of role to where he's just getting after it instead of having to read and play coverage, which is something that's a little bit new for him, I think it would be better for the team and Devin Lloyd.
Guys, another big factor in slowing down Lamar Jackson is slowing down his primary weapon, Mark Andrews, in the passing game. So, two-parter, what makes Andrews so good, and how should the Jaguars attempt to defend him today?
Well, I mean, what makes him so good, he's an every down tight end. I mean, he's a very good run blocker. He's a big physical guy. And then he's also good, not great. He's not Travis Kelce in the passing game.
Pretty close.
He's really good in space, though. I don't think he's as dynamic after the catch as Travis Kelce, but he's good in space. He's really smart. He understands, coverages, so he'll stay on the move. If it's man coverage, he'll sit down in those soft spots. And then him and Lamar are on the same page. And he does a great job when it comes to scramble rules that he mirrors Lamar and finds those spaces, and he's the safety blanket for Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, he's the safety blanket. He's the number one target. I mean, however you want to term it. I mean, this guy is literally the attention of Lamar Jackson goes to Mark Andrews nearly every play, first and foremost, and everybody else is a little bit of an afterthought, even though Demarcus Robinson got a lot of attention last week from Lamar Jackson. But Andrews is a really good player. And, Kelce is number one. And right there behind him, and you look at the stats since 19, and that number 2 in that tight end category is where Mark Andrews resides. So if you look at it by the numbers, he's the second best tight end in the league.
Oh, no question about it. And, guys, looking on the other side for the Jags, obviously we want to see Trevor Lawrence play well in the second half. He had a couple of really good games heading in with quarterback ratings of 106 or higher, but we've seen him go down this road before. He hasn't been able to maintain that consistency. Do you have hope coming out of the bye week that he'll be able to have more of those types of games in the final 7?
Well, I hope so, Mike. And look, he has been really good the last couple weeks, but I really believe that if he's going to be good today, he's got to get more out of Etienne and his offensive line this week than he did a couple weeks ago in Kansas City, where Etienne was limited to, I think, a little over around 45 yards, somewhere in that range. The offensive line gave up 5 sacks. Look, Trevor can't do it by himself. If in this game against this Ravens defense, which over the last 7 weeks has been the second best defense in the league, if you're not balanced, then it's going to be tough on Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, but I think, Jeff, the balance is right, but this run defense of the Ravens is one of the tops in the NFL. I don't see them lining up and just running right down the Ravens defense's throat. I think they got to pass today to run instead of run to pass. And so I think the onus is on Trevor Lawrence. I think it's on Kirk and Zay Jones and Evan Ingram and Marvin Jones. They need to have a big day passing to loosen up this front 7 of the Ravens. They're going to be up there, just doing everything they possibly can to stop Travis Etienne. That's going to be the Ravens' game plan. And if we come out and just try to shove it down their throat, I don't think they're successful. This Ravens defensive front's too good. You have to take advantage of the back half. Marcus Peters is a guy who's very aggressive, who's going to take chances. Look for a double move or two against him because there's big play opportunities on the back half.
And Trevor's got to protect the ball. Baltimore is one of the best teams in the league with takeaways. They had a whole slew of them to close a low-scoring game out last week in Carolina. They've got a veteran presence on defense. They've got some awareness there. So This is a ball game that is going to challenge Trevor Lawrence in a big way.
Guys, I think for me, Christian Kirk, Travis Etienne are as advertised, or as hoped at least. They're giving you what you wanted to see out of them. Who is the most likely third piece in the offense outside of Trevor Lawrence himself to step up now, whether it's today or just down the final 2 months of the season?
I'm going to give you two names, Mike, and I think it's a combination of Zay Jones and Evan Ingram. Zay Jones has some juice to him, and I'd like to see them use him more vertically, because I think he's the guy who can really stretch that defense. And then we've seen bits and pieces of Evan Ingram, but trying to work him in the middle of the field a little bit more, I think one of those two guys have to step up today and on the back half of the season to give that extra weapon for Trevor Lawrence.
Well, and Tony, you were talking about being aggressive with Marcus Peters. I mean, Zay Jones, according to Trevor Lawrence, is the best at double moves. So, I mean, if you're going to put a double move on him, I mean, put Zay Jones over there towards Marcus Peters and give it a shot. But the reality is that there really are no other options that what you mentioned, Etienne, and then also with Christian Kirk, that really scare defensive coordinators.
That's fair.
I walked in with him this morning, and you forget sometimes how tall and long Zay Jones is. And, of course, you guys know as well as anyone because you watch him and then you watch the tape. He's explosive. We'll see if he gets open and makes a play today and opens everything up. Have a great broadcast, guys. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, guys.
And thank you, Mike. JP Shadrick is in with you next for the next 2 hours leading up to kickoff. Jaguars and Ravens presented by Publix today, where shopping is a pleasure. This is Jaguars Radio, where listening is a pleasure.
You're beyond busy. Between work and the kids, the dogs and the cat, let us help. With Publix Delivery powered by Instacart, you'll get the items you need from the store you know. Just shop online, select the time you'd like your order delivered, and grocery shopping is done, giving you more time to take care of everything else.
Publix Delivery, powered by Instacart. Visit Publix.com/delivery to shop now. That's Publix.com/delivery. Item prices vary from in-store prices. Service fees may apply. Available in select zip codes. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Committed to the team. Committed to the mission. At Navy Mutual, we're committed to providing high-quality life insurance to members of the military and their families. So our policies have no fine print and no military service restrictions. We don't work on commission. We're nonprofit, so we pass the savings along to our members. Because at Navy Mutual, our highest commitment is to you. Visit NavyMutual.org. Navy Mutual, insuring those who serve.
At Tropical Smoothie Cafe, one taste and you're feeling good now, smiling wider now, seeing brighter now, bucket dunking now, namasteing now, popping a wheelie now, living lighter now. You're on Tropic Time now. And on Mondays, try our Jaguars Duval Delight Smoothies for $2.99. And you're roaring louder now, end zone dancing now, sipping spirit now. You're on Tropic Time now at Tropical Smoothie Cafe.
At most sandwich places, asking for more of something is just part of the drill. But what if you never had to ask for more? What if more was just a given? At Daly's, more is what our sandwiches are built on. More meat, more cheese, more veggies, more quality, more taste. All for a price that's anything but more. Sandwiches from Dash, made fresh. Daly's.
Your pet means the world to you, so Pet Paradise created a slice of paradise just for them. Pet Paradise is your complete pet health care destination with resort-style day camp, overnight boarding, professional grooming, and compassionate veterinary care from New Day, all located under one roof. Pet Paradise has over 50 locations to serve pet fanatics like you nationwide. Book today at PetParadise.com, the official pet care provider of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Unlock your potential at the University of North Florida. A top public university with more than 100 majors, UNF is number one among state schools for the highest percentage of graduates employed in Florida. Affordable tuition, programs in high-demand fields, and faculty who care. Swoop into your future at UNF. Visit unf.edu to learn more.
The Publix Tailgate Show is brought to you by Baptist Health, Farah and Farah, and by TIAA Bank. Here are Mike Dempsey and JP Shadrick.
And it's hour 2 of the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. Week 12 coming up. The Baltimore Ravens 7-3, first place in the AFC North, and the Jacksonville Jaguars at 3-7, third place in the AFC South. Today's game is presented by Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey. Did you know shopping is a pleasure, Mike? Yes.
Oh, I knew it.
You're gonna, if you don't know, you're going to find out in the next couple hours.
Sometimes it's a pleasure. Brian said he had fun. Brian Sexton in Publix over the Thanksgiving holiday. I'm like, I don't know if I call that fun, but it's certainly spirited. Let's put it that way.
Yes, and the Jaguars need a spirited effort today
Yes,
against
do.
this Baltimore Ravens team that can run the daylights out of it with the quarterback, of course. That's priority number 1 today. And even with that being the number 1 priority on defense, it just feels like Lamar's going to get his at some point.
You look at this team and you wonder how they've won all these games, honestly, JP. I mean, they've had a mash unit at wide receiver for most of the year, including Rashad Bateman, who's supposed to be their number 1, who's out for the season. Mark Andrews missed a couple of games, but he's been the one bright light. J.K. Dobbins coming back from a torn ACL, plays a little bit and then has to have surgery to clean things up. Gus Edwards has only played a couple of games, also coming back from a torn ACL. He's questionable but expected to go today. But these are like the frontline players, the skill players around Lamar Jackson. And quite frankly, his numbers have suffered because of it. He started off hot this year, yet somehow, some way, this Ravens team has found a way to have a double-digit lead every week this season. Now, they haven't held them all, but they put themselves in position to win every single football game, much like the Jags, but on the other side of that ledger. Jags have been close in a lot, but haven't gotten over the hump. The Ravens, for the most part, have.
Let's get to some of today's top stories for the Ravens and the Jaguars in Week 12. 7 games to go in the regular season for the Jags. And still some things to play for this Jaguars team. Plenty of players Monday still talking about all the goals out there. But for head coach Doug Peterson, that should be the mindset.
I'm encouraged by the attitude of the team. I think they're in the right frame of mind, and anything's possible. I've seen it. I've experienced it in this league. You get a little luck on your side. The ball bounces your way, and anything's possible. But we're just taking it one game at a time right now, and we're focused on Baltimore.
So, obviously, the playoffs are the longest of shots away. I mean, you have to win out and have some help, and the Titans are so far out in front. Yes, you get them twice, but it's, a 4-game lead right now, and that's so far out of it. But to have this team finish strong down the stretch, above 500 in the last 7, I think is a pretty nice goal. They would never say that, but 4-3, hey, then you're doing some things right down the stretch.
Oh,
here.
Sign me up right now for a 4-3 finish to this football season, because I don't think they're running the table in these last 7 here. And look, I get it. As the head coach, you want to exude confidence, and you're asked about it. And that's the thing. It's not like Doug Peterson's just getting up there going, we're going to run the table, we're going to do this, right? I mean, people ask him, do you think you're still relevant in the playoff picture? Yeah, well, that's our mentality. We got to win them all, right? And we're going to show up attempting to do that. But as he said, you got to focus on one at a time. And that's really got to be the emphasis here for the Jags. Everything about the Ravens. If you beat the Ravens, let's move on to next week. We'll worry about that then. But if you don't get this one, I mean, you're not mathematically eliminated, but a lot of wind coming out of those sails.
The offense for the Jaguars is a top 10 rated group in the NFL, but they've struggled in certain situations, of course, in the red zone, near the goal line. And offensive coordinator Prez Taylor said that's priority down the stretch to get right.
We just want to continue to see the growth that we feel like we've started to see on a more consistent basis. Obviously, he's put 2 good games in a row together. And as a unit, that's really where we need to be. As a unit and as a quarterback specifically, we want to clean up our red zone inefficiencies. Obviously, turning the football over has been the biggest thing that's hindered us in that situation. I think we have 4 turnovers inside the 20, which is inexcusable. It's too many for a season, too many for, that was all throughout the first 8-9 weeks of the season, which has really held us back.
Yeah, it certainly has in those situations. Obviously, the goal line situation against the Texans, and then again in London. Those are just 2 that pop into my head right now, the turnovers in the red zone.
Yeah, they moved the ball pretty well this year overall, and it's just you got to score, right? I mean, look, I've read a lot of commentary in the last week, JP, of people looking at the Jags, kind of assessing what they've done in the first 10 weeks and say, hey, this is one of the better 3-7 football teams you'll ever see. Well, I'd rather be one of the worst 7-3 teams. Quite
right. Like the Giants, right?
I
Okay.
would,
Hey.
right? Let me be that team. Like, how did they do that? I don't care. That's what they've done. So, look, we know they need to be better in the red zone. We know they need to be better in different areas. The challenge is to find a way to score more points than Baltimore today, period. Whether that comes from long distance, and there's been a lot of talk about maybe Trevor needing to stretch the field a little bit more. I think he probably does need to take a few shots, and I'm not saying that's on him. The offense in general needs to take a few more quick strikes because they have bogged down when they've gotten into scoring territory. So if you could score a few from outside the 20-yard line, that would go a long way to picking up the win.
Quarterback Trevor Lawrence confident as of late, though. 2 nice performances before the bye statistically, and he knows this offense is close to getting it done.
I've played well the last 2 weeks, but there's still a few plays every game that I can do better. Whether it's a missed throw, a missed read, getting through my progressions faster, protections, all that stuff. There's always things I can improve on. So there's little things, but I do feel really comfortable, really confident. I feel like we're starting to click more and more as an offense, especially in the passing game. And I think that's something that is obviously important, especially this time of year. You want to be playing your best football November, December, January.
And obviously, yes, the winning results are not there the last couple times out, but at least the quarterback's consistent and getting more consistent, let's say, and not turning the ball over and moving the ball. Okay, that's a good step, but you said it. Down the field, deep throws, it's one thing missing.
Whatever. Consistency, though, from week to week. We've seen a stretch early in the season in weeks 2 and 3 when Trevor was on fire, and he didn't follow that up with that same level of play. Can he do that coming out of the bye? Had a quarterback rating of 106 or better in the last 2. Needs to go on a string of these. And I think most Jaguar fans, in the moment, you want the win over the loss, and that's understandable. But if you're not going to make the postseason anyway, clearly the most important thing, if you do or you don't, is the development of your quarterback down the stretch here. So can we get 5 of those type games out of these last 7? And then you'd have ended on 7 of the last 9 being really good performances. Something like that can carry over, hopefully, into the offseason.
You know what helps a quarterback? A running game. And they did not run the ball especially well against Kansas City just before the bye week. Well, everything, as we just heard, at least the locker room thinks, is still out in front for this team. That's the mindset from Travis Etienne Jr., the Jags running back. He understands what must be done down the stretch.
You never really truly get away as a competitor, knowing that you have the remaining stretch of your season, which is going to be significant for us because it's going to we have to win in order to get in the playoffs, and we know that. So nobody really got away from it, and we just ready to get back to it.
So that's the running back. He's had a fantastic start to the season, obviously, and now I think the question is, how's he going to finish this thing? It is his first full season on the field in the NFL.
Not that worried about it, honestly, because he wasn't overworked early in the year, and even now, he had a few games, those back-to-back weeks where he had 51 touches, and that's not been the norm with Travis Etienne. He does take some big hits from time to time, but I think the overall workload has not been too much for him. I think he's going to finish with that week off on a strong 7-game stretch here, provided he stays healthy.
All right, let's go to the defense today, and we mentioned it. Lamar Jackson, of course, the quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens, a dual threat. Last time he played in this stadium, it was his last college game with Louisville, and he ran for over 150 yards, had a rushing score, but he threw 4 interceptions in the game. Defending his skill set is priority number 1 for defensive coordinator Mike Caldwell.
That's the thing. He's a quarterback that does have a skill set that typical quarterbacks don't have, and it's tough because you have to have enough guys on the field that can catch him, and the guys on the field that are bigger than him have to be able to understand how to keep him in the pocket and not let him get out there. So it's a challenge. You face it, but we'll have a plan on how we want to rush him, how we want to try to contain him, and go do it.
All right, you can have a plan. You got to go execute the plan, too, and that's been an issue this year.
Well, that's the problem, right? You got 2 different tendencies here. You want to keep him in the pocket, right, which kind of is like a containment mindset, and sometimes that saps a little bit of your aggressiveness from your defensive ends. Don't get too upfield, right, where he can step up and cut in underneath you. But at the same time, JP, if you're doing that, it gives Lamar Jackson a little bit more time back there to either make a play from the pocket or maybe elude that pressure and escape. So, I think when you got a shot, you got to take it. You just got to be smart about knowing that you've truly got a real shot. You don't go in there reckless, and it'll be interesting to see if the Jags are able to execute a plan like that today.
All right, some changes on defense this week. Chad Muma getting a little more time at linebacker moving ahead. The rookie out of Wyoming, of course, excited for it.
I'm obviously looking forward to it. I think it's a great opportunity ahead of me just to really showcase, what I'm able to do out there. And I'm just glad I have the guys around me that have really been preparing me. Foy has great communication out there right next to me, and Devin as well. I'm just able to talk to all those guys, see what they've been able to see on the field, and they communicate those things with me.
For Devin Lloyd, the first-round pick at linebacker this year has played declining over the last month or so, but he's not blaming it on the rookie wall at all.
I know I haven't. I started off hot, and then the last few weeks, it wasn't as good as I was in the beginning. Some people say it's that. For me, it's just going out and just executing, making plays that I know I can make, and really just trusting my ability.
All right, I'm curious to see the rotation today, and how long Muma's out there, if they're in together. What's the situation?
Well, first, just the confidence of an elite athlete, right? Some people say it's that. Well, yes, your coaching staff is saying it's that by the fact that the third rounder is taking away some of your reps. So, yes, clearly you're not playing as well as you did early in the season. Look, I think Devin Lloyd has a lot of potential, JP, but there's no getting around the fact that if you spend 3 picks to trade up into the first round and draft a guy, you expect him to never come off the field if he plays the position Devin Lloyd does, and he comes in with versatility. So to see him losing 40% of his reps last time out against Kansas City, and now there's talk that Chad Muma is going to play even more over the final 7 weeks of the season. Look, you've thrown basically 4 draft picks this year to find one player at that position, a combination of Lloyd and Muma, and that's not a good way to build a competitive roster for the long term.
I mean, the linebacker room as a whole threw a bunch of free agent money to Aluakin as well. He's playing pretty well, but that's a lot of equity on both sides, money and draft picks at that position.
Sure, and that's just the interior guys, and of course, you expand it to the outside guys. Talk about where they are pass rush wise, not getting it done to the degree that they need to this year. So, and something Brian Sexton and I talked about, it's got to be, Mike Caldwell's got to be frustrated. He is a linebackers coach by trade. And you would expect that this is the group he's getting the most out of, and it hasn't been so far.
Jaguars Game Day Radio is brought to you by ViStar Credit Union. Do good, bank better. And let's get a little preview of our conversation this week with Fred Taylor, pride of the Jaguars running back. We always catch up with him in Countdown to Kickoff on the Jaguars Radio Network, the full conversation on the official Jaguars Podcast Network. And I asked him this week, how do you contain Lamar Jackson?
Ain't no way. Ain't no way. Listen, if they've had issue with the quarterbacks that they've faced thus far, up until Lamar, it's going to be trouble. It's going to be trouble because Lamar is such a dynamic. He's an amazing back. I mean, they're going to have to spy guys, but then that leaves the middle of the field vulnerable. I think the one way, though, JP, to contain them without having to change up so much on the back end is you have to be able to get pressure, which you're down for. You have to do a lot of games, a lot of stunts, some straight rushes. You have to push the pocket, and then you have to pray. I think that's the formula, and hopefully they can, create them a nice little pot of gumbo with all of those fixings and find a way to slow Lamar down.
Pray, huh? That's not what you want to see in the scouting report.
Hey, you know what? I remember Shaq Harris used to say something like the other team had to pray when he showed up. So it's okay. Praying is good. It's natural, right?
That's the truth. Fred Taylor with us. Now, on the other side of things, Travis Etienne didn't run especially well in the week before the bye week in Kansas City. Trevor had a pretty decent, efficient day offensively, so that was good to see. But, hey, if they're going to get something done, they're going to probably have to run the football. That's when they've been at their best this season, when they've run the ball. But this Ravens defense is really stout against the run. It's a good veteran group in the front seven for Baltimore.
Guess who they're led by? A former Jaguar in Calais Campbell. Listen, JP, you asked how do you contain Lamar a second ago. You keep him off the field. You find your best way to keep him off the field. How do you do that? You got to run the football. And Travis Etienne is certainly capable, and we know the running game. it doesn't always look sexy each and every week. Some weeks you got to just, get in there and grind it out and find a way. And you mentioned against KC, that wasn't the week. Hopefully this is the bounce back week, because as good as the Ravens defense is, they also at times have shown to be undisciplined. They are vulnerable to the big play. And one way to get the running game going is to create some offensive plays in the pass game. If you have some big plays, they're going to have to figure out and change that coverage, hopefully go too high. And then after that, then they're able to call some run plays. But it does start with the run game. It starts with executing the short passes, allowing them to change their coverage and get impatient. And then from there, then you can hit them with the big ball behind. And then if you could create that formula all together, you should be victorious.
That's Fred Taylor, of course, pride of the Jaguars running back. Full conversation available now on the official Jaguars podcast network. On Countdown to Kickoff, we'll hear him again a little bit later in the final hour before today's Ravens-Jaguars matchup. We're about 15 minutes away from the inactives today. Up next, we'll hear from wide receiver Christian Kirk in the locker room this week. 1 o'clock kickoff time. It's Week 12. The Ravens and the Jaguars coming up. And this is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
You're beyond busy. Between work and the kids, the dogs and the cat, let us help. With Publix Delivery powered by Instacart, you'll get the items you need from the store you know. Just shop online, select the time you'd like your order delivered, and grocery shopping is done, giving you more time to take care of everything else.
Publix Delivery, powered by Instacart. Visit Publix.com/delivery to shop now. That's Publix.com/delivery. Item prices vary from in-store prices. Service fees may apply. Available in select zip codes. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Since 1916, Duval Motor Company is here to keep you and your vehicle off the sidelines. Their all-star lineup of dealerships provides superior sales, maintenance, and repairs for every make and model with Ford, Honda, Acura, Subaru, Chevrolet, and everything in between. At every Duval location across North Florida, Duval Motor Company always puts service first. In-store, online, or at your front door. Get service first with DuvalMotorCompany.com.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over.
Paid for by FDOT.
The creamiest, dreamiest soft ice cream you get from Mr. Softee. For a refreshing delight supreme, look for Mr. Softee. The milkshakes and the sundaes and the cones are such a treat. Look out for the ice cream stand, enjoy it from your seat. The creamiest, dreamiest soft ice cream you get from Mr. Softee. For a refreshing delight supreme, look for Mr. Softee. SOFTEE, Mr. Softee.
You say there's nothing quite like the feel of the open road when you ride a motorcycle. You know it takes concentration, knowledge, and skills beyond those required to drive a car. Ride Smart Florida would like to take this opportunity to remind you to enjoy the road, but to always ride smart. SMART. Say no to drinking and riding. Make yourself more visible to motorists. Always wear your helmet. Ride in control. Train regularly and get endorsed. Visit RideSmartFlorida.com for more details. Do you ride smart? This message is provided by the Florida Department of Transportation.
Storm season is here, and JEA is doing everything possible to prepare. We've invested millions in hardening our electric, water, and sewer systems to make them more resistant to extreme weather. By updating your contact information and signing up for alerts, you'll also be better prepared if a storm hits. And in the event we need to restore your power, we can keep you up to date on our efforts and get you back to normal sooner. Update your contact info today at JEA.com. JEA, building a more prepared community.
The Publix Tailgate Show continues right now.
JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey. The Publix Tailgate Show continues. We're inside 2 hours from Week 12. The Baltimore Ravens at 7-3. The Jacksonville Jaguars 3-7. Kickoff at TIAA Bank Field at 1 o'clock today. Mike Dempsey, how about a look around the National Football League in Week 12?
How about it, JP? We've already had 3 games played on Thanksgiving, so the Bills, Cowboys, and Vikings already off to good starts here, although with the Bills, there is a major injury concern with them as coming out of the Thanksgiving Day triple header, their pass rusher, Von Miller, had a knee injury, did not tear an ACL. That's the word. Gave him the MRI. Didn't tear the ACL during the 28-21 win over the Lions on Thursday. He is considered out indefinitely as he gathers more opinions on that injury he suffered during the game. He'll reportedly miss at least 1 to 2 weeks. There's a possibility he'll be shut down for the rest of the season as well. And, of course, Von Miller was a guy who signed with the Rams last year as an addition to give him a boost to that pass rush. Went on to win a Super Bowl there. Bills thinking they could turn the trick again. They've had a lot of injuries on defense lately, but came away with that 3-point win late against Detroit. We'll keep an eye on their pass rushers' health status going forward. A lengthy list of backup quarterbacks taking the field today. Speaking of health status, in place of teams injured or ineffective starters, Trevor Siemian expected to get the call for an injured Justin Fields as the Bears play the Jets, who, by the way, will be starting Mike White instead of Zach Wilson. So you had 2 of the top 4 quarterbacks in the draft last year set to go head-to-head. Instead, it'll be Trevor Siemian, Mike White, likely. Wilson, of course, benched for poor play, declining mechanics, possibly his dismissive post-game attitude last week. None of those playing well with a Jets team and fan base that sees his team is in position to make a playoff run, so they'll see if White can spark them today. Meanwhile, the 1-8-1 Texans will turn to Kyle Allen in place of the slumping Davis Mills when they face the Dolphins later on today. The Rams expected to go with third stringer Bryce Perkins with starter Matthew Stafford in the concussion protocol, which is interesting because they won't say that he actually has a concussion, but he is in the protocol. A lot of stories out today that Stafford could possibly get shut down at some point for the rest of the year. The Rams are going nowhere. It looks like backup John Wolford would typically get the start here. He is cleared. He'll be active today, but he's recovering from his own injury and didn't really practice much this week. The Rams are in Kansas City to take on the Chiefs later on this afternoon. Although he won't be on the field today with his Cleveland Browns teammates, Deshaun Watson has spent the last 2 weeks in practice running their scout team. That's about to change. The NFL confirming yesterday that Watson remains on track to be fully reinstated tomorrow from his 11-game suspension for violating the league's personal conduct policy. He'll play next Sunday against his former team, the Houston Texans, under terms of a settlement negotiated in August by the NFL and the Players Association. Watson also fined $5 million in addition to about $632,000 in lost salary. He has been required to undergo an evaluation and follow a treatment plan, including regular counseling, in light of allegations of sexual misconduct several women made against him about incidents that happened during massage therapy sessions. The league says he has met all the prerequisites to be reinstated tomorrow, so you can expect that to come down. Today, the Washington Commanders were hoping to see the season debut of their young pass rusher, Chase Young, returning from a significant injury he suffered last season, but an illness is going to prevent him from taking the field against the Atlanta Falcons today, so that's delayed a week. And a note with the Commanders, I'm sure they'll be recognizing it today. Today is the 15th anniversary of Sean Taylor's passing. Their safety, who was a Pro Bowler, All-Pro, 24 years old at the time, died as a result of a gunshot wound during a home invasion 15 years ago on this date. So you're going to hear about his name a lot today and what it has meant still to this day to that Commanders franchise.
A heck of a player also when he was out there, no doubt about that. Hey, you mentioned the Browns. If you watch the Browns game today, and I know many of you will, there's donut marks on the field. Somebody broke in and did donuts on the field in a car. Well, they had an independent field person come in and say it is playable today. They were worried about some of the trenches from the tire marks, but it's going to be okay.
Look, every once in a while, somebody gets loose on a local area golf course, JP, and I've had to putt through those kind of lines on greens before. If I've got to do it, Nick Chubb's got to do it as well.
You probably made every putt, though, right?
Oh no, without
you.
question. I mean, look, because they ran those wheels right up to the cup, so I just had that little rut working
Perfect.
for me.
Yeah, just use it in your favor.
Maybe I was the one who did it.
If you're looking for the MVP of the truck game, then look no further than Ford F-150. Loaded with impressive capabilities and designed to dominate work, play, and everything in between, this truck makes tough look easy. your local Ford dealer, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. This week in the locker room, I caught up with Jaguars wide receiver Christian Kirk. We'll have plenty of football talk, of course, but with the Thanksgiving holiday upon us earlier this week, I asked him what he was most thankful for.
I'm most thankful for my fiance, my family, everyone who just keeps me going, in this crazy, life that we live. And I'm just so thankful for them, keeping me humble, keeping me working hard, and, giving me a purpose every single day, when I wake up and come to work.
Now to football. Coming off the bye week, you used that to self-scout, look at the offense a little bit. What did you guys find in the offense? What's left out there to get done the final 7 weeks?
I think there were some things schematically that we were doing, causing some unfortunate penalties, with our RPO stuff, and, just some other things, that we could kind of take advantage of, just trying to hone in on the things that we're good at. I think that was another important thing is, seeing what we were good at the first 10 weeks and trying to sharpen that, find more ways to do the same things and present it differently and keep that going in the back half of the season.
How about you personally? Coming in here, new environment, first year in here, have you achieved everything you wanted to this point, and what's left for you personally down the stretch?
I wouldn't say I've achieved everything to this point. Obviously would have loved to win more games, in the first 10, but, there's 7 more opportunities to, kind of make this thing the way we want to do. And so for me, it's just, being the best that I can be. I know there's been times where I haven't been at my best, and, I strive for perfection. So I'm going to keep doing that and just, keep doing everything that I can to help put this team in position to win football games.
It seems like a common refrain in this locker room. It's a positive group right now going into the stretch run here, even considering the record as it is. But this team is still not eliminated, right? As a competitor, you have to have that mindset that anything can happen, right?
Yeah, it takes 1 or 2 games to get you back on track, and especially with 3 divisional games, up next for us, it can dictate a lot. So for us, we're just taking it 1 game at a time, but definitely know, we're not out of it.
Tell us about the Ravens defense. It's a tough group.
Yeah, definitely a tough group, a veteran group. Probably the most veterans we've seen all season. Plays hard, physical, and they're smart. And so, for us, it's all about details and just, being on, our spots, being where we need to be, timing and everything. And, we can't beat ourselves.
Home atmosphere at the bank. Got to have the crowd in here after Thanksgiving ready to roll, right?
Yeah, we're super excited to get out in front of everybody, family, friends. It's always great, when you get to play football, around Thanksgiving because, it's a sport that we're all thankful for, and, it's a great opportunity to bring everybody together. And, we're excited to get back out there.
There's Christian Kirk, of course, Jaguars wide receiver, joining us earlier this week. And I heard you mention this a little earlier in the show, Mike, that, they spent a lot of money on Christian Kirk and Zay Jones, the wide receiver spot. And they've, I think, liked what they've gotten out of that production so far. They could see a little bit more down the field maybe from Zay Jones. We heard Tony talking about that earlier. But Christian Kirk, on his side of it, for the most part, so far so good. There are some things he's left out there, a few drops here or there, but he's been the guy that Trevor's thrown to the most this year.
Oh, no doubt, and I had the most success throwing to as well, JP. I mean, Trevor's thrown 13 touchdowns, and Kirk has 7, more than half of them, right? He's on pace for like a 1,200-yard double-digit touchdown season. And when you look at, as we did over the last few weeks, at where he ranks among the top pass catchers in the league, basically everyone who's outproduced him is making a lot more money than him or is a superstar in a rookie contract. So, all this, he's blown the market out of whack. No, Christian Kirk is actually paying off, I think, every penny that they've invested in him this year. He's been a big success story in the free agent market. I'd like to see more from Zay Jones, but I didn't expect as much from Zay Jones. But that doesn't mean we can't get more shots down the field to him, hopefully, in the last 2 months.
Check out the official Jaguars Podcast Network. It's free on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you download your podcasts. Available on Jaguars.com as well. Just click the podcast tab at the top of the homepage. We're about 15 minutes away from a Mike Dempsey fantasy forecast. And Frank Frangie in the broadcast booth coming up. Up next, though, it's Inactives and a pregame Huddle Up podcast with Bucky Brooks and John Ozier. We're an hour and a half away from kickoff. It's Week 12. The Ravens and the Jaguars coming up. This is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
You're beyond busy. Between work and the kids, the dogs and the cat, Let us help. With Publix Delivery powered by Instacart, you'll get the items you need from the store you know. Just shop online, select the time you'd like your order delivered, and grocery shopping is done, giving you more time to take care of everything else.
Publix Delivery, powered by Instacart. Visit Publix.com/delivery to shop now. That's Publix.com/delivery. Item prices vary from in-store prices. Service fees may apply. Available in select zip codes. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Are you suffering from shoulder pain? If you have clicking and popping in the shoulder joint, persistent pain that intensifies with use, an inability to lift your arm over your head, or a tingling, burning sensation in the shoulder, elbow, or wrist, waiting to see a doctor could make your injury worse. Baptist Health and Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute have innovative and effective treatment options available right now to relieve your pain and restore your mobility. Don't wait. Call 904-JOI-2000.
When you show your home love with a natural gas water heater, it loves you right back with more cost-efficient, endless hot water.
Hon, hurry it up, please.
And right now, you'll love earning a cash rebate up to $700 when you install an energy-efficient natural gas water heater.
We're going to be late. Again.
What? Did you say something, hon?
To learn more and how to qualify, visit peoplesgas.com/rebates.
Kessler Creative, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, has been a leader in direct mail for over a decade. Using the latest technology, Kessler can now reach your ideal audience even more effectively. Choose from between a couple of response channels, from direct mail to landing pages designed to engage and initiate responses with potential customers. Kessler Creative, Jacksonville, Florida. Results-driven marketing and a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Feeling hungry, Jaguars fans? Fuel your Duval energy with a delicious Stallmeyer all-beef hot dog on game day as you support your Jacksonville Jaguars. Whether you're at the game or at home, it's not game day without a Stallmeyer all-beef hot dog. Made in Florida, Stallmeyer all-beef hot dogs will fuel your energy to help bring on a victory for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Stallmeyer all-beef hot dogs are available at your local Publix supermarkets. Don't feel hungry, Jaguars fans. Fuel your energy with the official hot dog of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Stallmeyer. The Land Rover Defender story began with the simple thought of creating an exceptionally capable off-road vehicle, becoming the go-anywhere, do-anything all-terrain machine. Today, there's a new Land Rover Defender, the toughest and most advanced Land Rover vehicle ever. From the beginning, Land Rover knew the new Defender was capable of great things. Motor Trend's 2021 SUV of the Year is just the latest example. Test drive the new Land Rover Defender today at Land Rover Jacksonville on Atlantic Boulevard, or go to LandRoverJacksonville.com. Land Rover, above and beyond.
The Publix Tailgate Show continues right now.
And welcome back. The Publix Tailgate Show continues. JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey from TIAA Bank Field in Jacksonville. The Baltimore Ravens 7-3. The Jacksonville Jaguars 3-7. 1 o'clock kickoff time. And today's game is presented by Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. Let's get to the inactives for today's game. The Jaguars have 5 players down today, and it's wide receiver Kendrick Pryor, who's out today. Darrell Henderson Jr., the running back, the recent addition from the Rams. He was a waiver claim earlier this week, not ready to go today. He's out. Tyree Gillespie, safety, is out. Trey Herndon, cornerback, is inactive today. And outside linebacker Deshaun Dixon is out. So Herndon is sitting down today for the Jags.
I do like the waiver claim of Henderson, though. You know, inexpensive shot on a guy who's got some starting experience, can catch the ball out of the backfield, don't need him to be a full-time player.
Yeah, you need some depth at least, you know,
absolutely,
on this running back room.
No question about it. For the Baltimore Ravens, JP, 7 inactives today, including starting left tackle Ronnie Stanley, who will not be suiting up, safety Kyle Hamilton, running back Mike Davis, inside linebacker Josh Bynes, also outside linebacker David Ajabo, and a pair of tight ends, the rookie Isaiah Likely, who's had some really nice moments as a pass catcher so far this year, and another tight end, Charlie Kolar, also not suiting up today for Baltimore.
All right, the inactives are in, and it's time now to go up to the broadcast booth and welcome NFL Network analyst, Jaguars radio field analyst, jack of all trades, Bucky Brooks, and a guy who writes for Jaguars.com. Senior writer. A one-trick pony, but it's a damn good trick for John Oehser. Hey, good afternoon. Good morning, guys. What's up?
Hey, before we get started, we not only have Jack of all trades, we have California I hope I'm getting it right, Bucky. It's the equivalent of a state championship in most states. Bucky's high school team that he coaches won it all, JP.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, champion. You didn't tell me that earlier, Bucky, when I saw you.
Oh,
congratulations.
No, I appreciate it.
No, it's fantastic stuff. It really is.
You going to get a ring, Buck?
The biggest one that you can find. Liberace over here.
I love it. Absolutely. Well, congratulations, Bucky.
Appreciate it.
What's the school name again?
Granada Hills Charter, John Elway's alma mater. The great John Elway is probably rolling over. I texted him the other day because we threw 7 passes all year, completed 0, but we were able to win a championship.
Y'all run the T, right? Or what is it?
Yeah, the wing T.
Wing T you
wing
guys
T,
run.
man.
Gotta love it.
First 3 letters stand for win.
All right. Hey, speaking of running attacks, the Ravens have one with the quarterback. Bucky, how do you slow him down?
Hey, man, this is the biggest test that we'll face in terms of dealing with a running game. It's comparable to the test that they faced earlier against the Philadelphia Eagles, but now you're talking about a more dynamic playmaker at the quarterback position. Lamar Jackson is spectacular. They're going to test you with not only all the schemes that they run, gap schemes, zone schemes, power, all of this, but having the ball in his hands. And this guy can go the distance from anywhere on the field. And so it evens up the numbers in the run game, and he is so explosive that you really got to tackle well. This will be a huge challenge for the Jaguars defense.
Yeah, JP, sometimes the obvious analysis in the NFL isn't the right analysis, but in this case it is. I mean, you've got a team in the Jaguars who clearly against the Giants and the Eagles, which were really the only run-centric kind of quarterbacks, because Daniel Jones, that's what he is, and they struggled a lot and couldn't figure it out, looked lost at times. Sometimes you say, well, maybe that's just coincidence, but in this case, I think this has been the matchup since those games. We've all talked about, well, okay, they got it figured out, but what happens when they play Lamar Jackson? Because he's the best maybe ever to do this in terms of running, Michael Vick, but I think Lamar Jackson is better in terms of dual threat overall. He's the best we've seen like this. And so do they have it figured out? Are they going to do something scheme-wise different? Are they just going to rely on Chad Muma and Oluokun to be better with their eyes? It's a mammoth test.
Well, it is, guys, but, Lamar Jackson in the passing department throwing for more than 40 yards less than he did per game last year because they've had a revolving door of injuries out wide, and they don't have any real headline players that are healthy at that position. Certainly Mark Andrews is a big factor. So, Bucky and John, how has this team, with those challenges, managed to have a double-digit lead in every game of the season so far?
8.
I mean, because they hit you in the mouth. And the National Football League is now kind of coming back to where run-centric teams are having success. They hit you in the mouth. And so if you got all these little dudes on the field, they test their ability to make tackles. The big issue that you have if you're the Jaguars in dealing with this offense, we sat here and talked about Lamar Jackson, you got to stop him. Well, the only way you can stop him is to put an extra defender in the box. But to put an extra defender in the box, you have to leave your DBs on an island. And so if you're the Jaguars, are you willing to lean on your guys to play against what we may call no-name receivers, but can our guys cover them? Because ultimately that's where the game is going to be. The teams that have been the best against the Ravens have gone cover 0, meaning no deep post safety, everyone locked up in man-to-man, and made a concerted effort to stop the run. Are the Jaguars willing to do that, and are they good enough to do that? That's the question.
See, to me, that's what scares you the most because it feels like the 2 weaknesses for this defense already this year has been against running quarterbacks, and it's been in coverage.
That's not good.
Right.
That's
a bad combination.
And I'm not trying to throw water on the chances. I'm just making the point they're going to have to do something that we haven't seen them do yet this year to have a chance to win. And that happens. That can happen. But to me, this is the toughest matchup they faced the last 7 games.
John Oehser, Bucky Brooks joining us from the broadcast booth upstairs, a live edition of the Huddle Up podcast. Glad you're with us. Of course, on Wednesdays at 4 o'clock Eastern, it's the Huddle Up with Bucky Brooks show on Jaguars.com. All right, now to the Jaguars offense and self-scouting in the bye week. Well, what do you think they came up with, Bucky, to maybe get the ball down the field a little deeper? They've had some opportunities this year, and the quarterback either hasn't pulled the trigger at times or they've just missed them.
Yeah, they just missed him. I think the way the lineup is constructed, I don't know if there's a pure deep threat. And so those deep shots have to be manufactured. Double moves, play action shots where you max protect and maybe you slip 2 receivers down the field on deep overs and those things. But this is an offense that is more of a connect-the-dots offense, more so than a big play offense. The big plays typically come from the running back, Travis Etienne. So if anything, I would like to think that the Jaguars spent the week trying to figure out ways to help Travis Etienne get loose, because he is proven to be the big play threat, and when he makes big plays, that's when we put points on the board.
Yeah, to me, this was – I think they did a lot of self-scouting and figured out some things on defense. I think they sort of knew what they were going to find offensively. They talked all week about what they found was that they needed to be better in the red zone and that they needed to be better there in the big moments. And I think they had known that already. So I think they found what they thought they were going to find. I think the lack of big plays downfield, to me, feels like overall in those first 10 games, they were very focused on making sure that the young quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, stayed in good down and distance, stayed 2nd and 6, 3rd and 3, didn't get in bad situations. So I think they sort of avoided taking deep shots because they didn't want to have him facing 2nd and 10, 3rd and 10. I think that, not every time, but overall I think that had a lot to do with it. I think you will see that happen more, the deep shots. It felt like they started to do that against Kansas City when was it against Kansas City when they missed Kirk early and he had to drop? It felt like they were doing that a little more as you headed into the bye. I think you can look for that in the last 7 games.
Guys, the mayor will be here today, and this one didn't burn his Thanksgiving turkey. If you saw the photos on social media, this one, you must have missed that one. I'm talking about the mayor of Saxonville, of course, Calais Campbell, who's heated up in the last 4 weeks. 3.5 sacks. He's had at least a half sack in every game. How well positioned are the Jags to contain Calais in his return to Jacksonville?
Look, man, he's going to be fired up. He may not say anything, but it's always personal when you come back and play one of your former teams. So I would expect him to be primed and ready to have a big game. And it's going to be important for the Jaguars to stay out of long yardage situations. Don't allow him to get in that track stance and do what he does, because the dude is one of the best passers that we've seen as an interior player. He can wreak havoc, even at his, twilight. The twilight of his career.
Twilight, but
he still has the ability to flash in moments. So you want to make sure you take care of him and you stay out those long yardage situations where you can get after it.
But the great pass rushers, in league history, have often played deep into their careers because so much of it is about hands and fundamentals that they can figure out a way. Not 15 times a year anymore for Calais, but you give him enough situations, he's going to figure out a way to make an impact, get pressure, affect the pocket, and I'm sure it's been said on this show already today. Maybe one of the best class acts ever to play here, and I wouldn't mind seeing him up on the wall someday.
Yeah, only 3 years in this place, but a great impact, of course, on that 2017 defense and the Walter Payton Man of the Year in the NFL in his 2019 season, and he's 2 sacks away from 100 for his career.
Hope he gets it next week.
Yeah, let's wait till next week for that, Calais. Hey, guys, have a great day today. We'll talk to you.
Guys, thank you.
Thank you.
That's John Ozier and Bucky Brooks from the broadcast booth upstairs. And, of course, the weekly Huddle Up with Bucky Brooks show Wednesdays, 4 o'clock on Jaguars.com and the Jags social media channels, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Jaguars Game Day Radio is brought to you by ViStar Credit Union. Do good, bank better. And we're inside 20 minutes from Jaguars Radio Network coverage. Countdown to kickoff starts at noon Eastern. We'll hear from Fred Taylor and, of course, the final word before kickoff with head coach Doug Peterson and plenty more. When we return, though, it's a fantasy forecast. And we go to the broadcast booth with Frank Frangie. The Ravens and Jaguars coming up at 1 o'clock. This is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
You're beyond busy. Between work and the kids, the dogs and the cat, let us help. With Publix Delivery powered by Instacart, you'll get the items you need from the store you know. Just shop online, select the time you'd like your order delivered, and grocery shopping is done, giving you more time to take care of everything else.
Publix Delivery, powered by Instacart. Visit Publix.com/delivery to shop now. That's Publix.com/delivery. Item prices vary from in-store prices. Service fees may apply. Available in select zip codes. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Since 1916, Duval Motor Company is here to keep you and your vehicle off the sidelines. Their all-star lineup of dealerships provides superior sales, maintenance, and repairs for every make and model with Ford, Honda, Acura, Subaru, Chevrolet, and everything in between. At every Duval location across North Florida, Duval Motor Company always puts service first. In-store, online, or at your front door. Get service first with DuvalMotorCompany.com.
At Tropical Smoothie Cafe, one taste and you're feeling good now, smiling wider now, seeing brighter now, bucket dunking now, namasteing now, popping a wheelie now, living lighter now. You're on Tropic Time now. And on Mondays, try our Jaguars Duval Delight Smoothies for $2.99. And you're roaring louder now, end zone dancing now, sipping spirit now. You're on Tropic Time now at Tropical Smoothie Cafe.
Jags fans, Shaquille Griffin of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I know you love when we put the QB in his place with a big interception, and now Luray Boyd Peanut Company is making every pick a winning play with the Peanut Pickoff. Every time the Jaguars make a pick, Luray Peanuts is going to donate to youth football initiatives throughout the Southeast, and the Jaguars Foundation will match every dollar. We get one play closer to victory, and our kids get to train for a brighter future. Everyone wins, except for the other team's QB. But hey, that's his problem.
Unlock your potential at the University of North Florida. A top public university with more than 100 majors, UNF is number one among state schools for the highest percentage of graduates employed in Florida. Affordable tuition, programs in high-demand fields, and faculty who care. Swoop into your future at UNF. Visit unf.edu to learn more.
At most sandwich places, asking for more of something is just part of the drill. But what if you never had to ask for more? What if more was just a given? At Daly's, more is what our sandwiches are built on. More meat, more cheese, more veggies, more quality, more taste. All for a price that's anything but more. Sandwiches from Dash, made fresh. Daly's.
The Publix Tailgate Show continues right now.
Rolling along, JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. JP Shadrick and Mike Dempsey from the Jaguars Radio Network studio. And we're about 15 minutes away from network coverage ahead of the Ravens and the Jaguars. Ravens at 7-3, Jaguars at 3-7, a 1 o'clock kickoff time in Week 12. Let's get a Week 12 fantasy forecast, Mike.
All right, first we got to know who's in and who's not in, JP, who's not available, and some big names out for the 1 o'clock window today. A lot of these players were trending towards not playing. I think fantasy managers were well suited to have backup plans in place. We got news yesterday that it was unlikely Justin Fields would play for the Chicago Bears. He had a separated left shoulder. He compared it to a sprained AC joint, but the Bears have shut him down for the day. They'll go with Trevor Siemian going against Mike White. The Jets, as of 2 weeks ago, third-string quarterback, elevated to the backup, now elevated to the starter with Zach Wilson struggling there. So instead of a matchup of Fields and Wilson, two of the top four quarterbacks selected last year, we are going to get Siemian and White there. For Cincinnati, two of their top guys will not be available as they take on the Tennessee Titans today. Joe Mixon's been in the concussion protocol. Jamar Chase has missed the last 3 games, was hoping to get back with his sprained knee today. They didn't put him on IR because he would have been guaranteed to miss 4 games. He still ends up missing at least a minimum of 4 games as Chase will not play for the Bengals against the Titans. Former Jaguar running back Leonard Fournette not going to be able to go today for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, so Rachaad White will get his first career start, and a lot of folks love the matchup against Cleveland. Probably ranked in that 12 to 15 range among running backs this week with all the guys in action. And another former Jaguar running back, although one that not a lot of people are counting on for any fantasy production, interestingly enough, James Robinson, who the Jags traded to the New York Jets, is a healthy inactive today for Ty Johnson and Zonovan Knight. So, yes, Michael Carter will be the starter for the Jets when they take on the Bears. Also, Jerry Jeudy not available for the Denver Broncos. He had been ruled out yesterday. The guys we're keeping an eye on in the 4 o'clock window today, running through these games. Chargers at Arizona. You got Mike Williams ruled out already for the Chargers, so another good spot to get Josh Palmer in your lineup. Keenan Allen's fully recovered. Gerald Everett expected to play today as well for the Chargers. For Arizona, wide receiver Rondale Moore is out. Greg Dortch is doubtful, but Marquise Brown returns, and he will be on the field at the same time as teammates with DeAndre Hopkins for the first time for the Cardinals today. Vegas and Seattle today. Josh Jacobs gets listed as questionable on Friday on the injury report with a calf injury after practicing fully on Wednesday and Thursday, but he is expected to play according to the local reporting this morning. And Seattle, no major skill position injuries of note. Rams and Kansas City today. The Rams will be going with third-string quarterback Bryce Perkins likely. They'll also have no Allen Robinson. Matt Stafford in the concussion protocol. John Wolford just returning from injury but unable to practice this week, so he'll be active backing up Perkins. Meanwhile, Juju Smith-Schuster is back for the Chiefs in that game, but they lose Kadarius Toney to a hamstring, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire placed on injured reserve, although he had been phased out of the offense in the last 2 weeks. And then finally, New Orleans at San Francisco, also in that 4 o'clock window. Alvin Kamara's had an illness. He's expected to play, although he hasn't been the same highly productive Kamara this year as he has been in years past. Deebo Samuel, questionable, the hamstring injury for San Francisco. He is expected to go, and that gives San Fran one of the best sets of skill position players anywhere in the league. Jimmy Garoppolo, the beneficiary last week, throwing 4 touchdowns. He's in another good spot start situation today.
There's your fantasy forecast for Week 12, and it's time to deck the halls, Duval. On Sunday, December 18th, Trevor Lawrence leads the charge against Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys. Whether you're gifting the game or treating yourself, we've got tickets to fit every budget. So visit Jaguars.com/tickets or call 904-633-2000. Let's head back to the broadcast booth upstairs here at the bank and welcome in Frank Frangie. He'll have the call of the game today. Ravens, Jaguars coming up. And, hey, back home and 7 games to go. The stretch run is here now, Frank.
Yeah, it is a tough stretch run. Good morning, JP and Mike. And, yeah, it's going to be a tough stretch run, a tough 7-game stretch. JP, a really tough 4-game stretch. It's a game against the Ravens, who've won 4 in a row. Next week you go to Detroit, who's suddenly pretty good. They won 3 in a row and really took the Bills to the limit on Thanksgiving. Then you have to go to Tennessee, and we know how good they are in that building. And then you come home and play the Dallas Cowboys, are one of the better teams in the league. So it's a tough 7, a really tough first 4, I think, JP, of those 7.
Yeah, Frank, we can't worry about the 7 all at once, right? And I know we recognize what's to come here, but if you don't win against Baltimore today, I think even the most diehard Jaguar supporters will realize the playoffs are probably out of their reach, if not mathematically. So everyone says you got to contain Lamar Jackson. How difficult do you think that'll be to do? Because sometimes those pass rushers, man, once they get ahead of steam, they just want to go full bore at the quarterback.
Well, that's right. And I heard Tony and you guys talking earlier in the broadcast, Mike, and I think you got to keep an eye on him and obviously keeping him in the pocket. That's obviously the way to beat them. I think a lot of zone defense with people watching him. That sounds simple. I think the Jags have sort of evolved into a zone team. I think they pretty much admitted that. Mike, and I think one good thing about his own defense is people are facing the line of scrimmage. The worst thing in the world when you're playing a Lamar Jackson is everybody's in man running away from the play. So I think you keep an eye on him. I don't know if you spy him or not. I'll be interested to see what the Jags do with their nickel position because I think they'll be in nickel a lot, and I think whoever's in that nickel spot has a lot to do with how they play that. Keep an eye on who winds up playing nickel for them today because I think that'll factor into the ballgame.
Frank Frangie with us from the broadcast booth upstairs. Chad Muma getting more time as the weeks have gone along. Well, he's really going to get some time today, Frank. And what can we expect from the rookie out of Wyoming?
I think that's twofold to me, JP. Number one, Devin Lloyd's spinning right now. Devin Lloyd's confused. He's really had a tough time, and I think everybody knows that. I think everybody's acknowledged that. I even think that has drained Foye Oluokun some because he's had to spend a lot of time lining up Devin, and I think obviously he's got to go play too, not just line up one guy, line up the entire defense. So I think that just needed a break. I don't think anyone's given up on Devin Lloyd, but I think for now they had to just take a break and kind of figure out where they are. I think that's first, and I think they want to see what they've got in Muma. He's a tough-nosed guy. He's a guy they like. Now they drafted him high, not as high as Lloyd, but he's a guy. I think he's physical. I think he'll be very good against the run. Look, the Ravens are a physical team. That's how they play, man. They are a tough-nosed physical team. They are the Titans with purple uniforms instead of the blue. That's who they are. And I think Chad Muma's a very physical player. They want to see what they've got in him, and I think that's why he's in there.
Frank, let's flip it around while we've got a few minutes here and take a look at the offense. How do you expect the Jags to try to attack the Ravens today?
I think you need, and again, I'm repeating some of the things we've said already on the broadcast when you were with Jeff and Tony, but I agree, you got to throw this thing over the top against them. They are physical at the line of scrimmage. I think having Patrick Queen and now Roquan Smith, they really run at that linebacker spot. Somehow you got to loosen them up a little bit. So I do think you're going to see the ball down the field. And let's be honest. I really like the way Trevor Lawrence is playing, Mike. I think he's developing. I think he's on schedule. I really do. As young quarterbacks go, I think he's right on schedule. But they haven't thrown the ball down the field very often. I think Zay Jones is a big part of this because if he's the closest they have to a take the top off the defense guy. I'm not sure if he's completely that guy, but he's the best guy on this roster. Jamal Agnew's probably faster, but hasn't done that enough. So I think Zay Jones down the field. But I think if the Jags are going to win the game today, Mike, if we're going to look back at 4:15 and they have won the game, they will have hit some balls down the field, maybe more than we're accustomed to.
Big play Jaguars. Need some more of that.
They need that, boy. They really do.
Certainly do. And Travis Etienne's been the big play guy, as Bucky was saying a little bit earlier. I mean, if you need a big play, if you need 40 yards, well, he's been your guy this year. So maybe they get him involved somehow a little bit more. It's tough to involve him more than they have on the ground, but maybe in the passing game a little more too.
I think, JP, it will be a tougher game for him to run between the tackles. Number one, that's not really what he is. He's a complete back, but he's not that as much as he is a guy in space. I think it's going to be tough to run between the tackles a little bit. But, yeah, if he's your best offensive weapon, he's got to be involved. You don't forget about him. I would like to see a game plan one day where they really do not a check down, but swing passes to him and balls out of the backfield to him or a primary plan of the play. I want to see more of that. It wouldn't bother me at all if he caught 7 or 8 passes today because he's a great weapon. And I think that's the best way to use him, particularly in this game.
And quickly, let's not see the home run swing of Calais Campbell today.
Yeah, I don't want to see that. I love Calais. I want to see it next week, not today. I'm glad he's back, but not today, JP. I agree with you.
Have a great call.
Thanks, fellas.
Frank Frangie from the broadcast booth upstairs. Up next, it's Jaguars Radio Network coverage and countdown to kickoff. We'll have the top stories of the day. We'll hear from Pride of the Jaguars running back Fred Taylor. And, of course, the final word before today's kickoff with Jaguars head coach Doug Peterson. The Ravens at 7-3, the Jaguars at 3-7. Kickoff coming up in just over an hour from right now at TIAA Bank Field. Should be a nice day for football. The Jaguars coming off the bye week. The Ravens first place in the AFC North. The Jaguars third place in the AFC South. And thank you for listening to the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
You're beyond busy. Between work and the kids, the dogs and the cat, let us help. With Publix Delivery powered by Instacart, you'll get the items you need from the store you know. Just shop online, select the time you'd like your order delivered, and grocery shopping is